Hi and welcome. What is Quota in Azure? Quota is basically a way to basically let the service provider or the hyperscaler, the cloud provider, what are your intentions in terms of deploying workloads? And basically, what is how it starts is all of the customers. Remember, there are thousands, maybe tens of thousands, maybe more, using a cloud provider. The cloud provider has a responsibility to bring and to make available these quotas to customers. So how do they manage these quotas and hardware into the data centers? Basically, they use, machine learning and AI and that kind of stuff. But then at the end of the day, they gather signals, which basically they manage their capacity in different data centers. And the quota are done for this. So when you go and you increase your quota, you are basically signaling that you are increasing your usage into Azure. And that gives an indication for different capacity teams that they should install new hardwares or bring a new SKU or bring a new type of GPUs, for example. And basically, the way it works is that you always start by a subscriptions, right? So you have your subscription, and then within your subscription, you have different quota, and this is in different type of region, right? So in region one for SKU one, for example, which is as an example the SV5, right? Which is our general compute SKU. You may have maybe 100 cores, right? So you are allowed in your subscription, which is subscription one as an example, to deploy 100 cores. So what happens after that, right? When you reach 99 cores, or actually all the cores, you are consuming all the cores, for example, and you reach 100% of this. What you go into this particular subscription, and then you basically go into that particular SKU, right? So a DSV5, and that region, which is, for example, UAE North, and what you say, you are going to increase from 100 to 200 cores, for example. So basically what happens is that there's an automated process. So your subscription can be automatically approved. And within a few seconds, you will see success. You have 200 cores. If, for example, support needs a little bit more information from you and that kind of stuff, what happens is that it will direct you automatically into a new window, which is basically saying, open a support ticket. And in the support ticket, what you're going to do, you are going to input information, what you're going to use it, when you are going to use it, and kind of stuff, right? So that's kind of like the process. Obviously, the 200 cores is just an example, but in a nutshell, that's what happens. What if now there is a new way to make it easier to manage your quota? So Microsoft recently issued a new object in Azure, which is called Quota groups. Quota groups. What is quota groups? So first of all, it's an object, right? It's an object in its own. And basically, what it does, it is basically a placeholder that help you manage your quota on a tenant level, right? So this is an Azure tenant. And if you have an Azure tenant, you must have a lot of subscriptions, right? Remember, democratizing the subscription or subscription vending machine, kind of like part of the Microsoft best practices. You may have a lot of subscriptions, right? Subscription X, right? So what happens in this case, right? So instead of managing the quota on a subscription level, first of all, what quota group does is that it abstracts all of these quotas, if you want, and help you manage the quota centrally, which is here. So you don't have to manage the quota on a subscription level. So imagine you need 200, 200 cores in the subscription. You need 10,000 cores in the subscription. You need 30,000 cores in the subscription, and then you need 400 cores in the subscription, for example. So what you'd have to do, you'd have to basically go onto each subscription and do that work individually, or on a subscription level. So first of all, this kind of like goes away, where quota group now is a central object where you are going to go into this quota group and then count all the quota that you want. In this case, 30K plus 40K, that's approximately 40K as an example, right? And you say 40K, I want to have 40,000 cores of DSV5 as an example, right? And you open a support ticket or you issue that command into the Azure portal to automatically increase the quota into 40K. So once this quota is approved and you have 40K of DSV5, now you are completely free to distribute this quota like you want, right? So for example, you go and say, actually, I want to give this subscription 100 cores. I want to give this subscription 10,000 cores. And then as a test, I want to give this subscription 400 cores. And I want to keep the rest of it in the quota group for later when, when this subscription will be ready, I'll assign the quota, right? And at any point in time, what you can do is actually you can reverse that, right? So you can go into this subscription, for example, and you say, okay, I'm done. I need this 100 cores to be assigned into another subscription. So instead of opening another support ticket, what you do is that you give this back into the quota group, the 100 cores into the quota group. And then once the quota group is assigned this quota, you are free to assign it wherever you want. This is, again, without any interaction from Microsoft support. You are basically completely free to distribute your quota as you wish. So quota group is basically a placeholder. You can see it as a placeholder where you basically first, like the big advantage of quota group is that you don't have to open a support ticket anymore on each subscription. You can open it centrally on a quota group level. The second thing is that it helps you as a placeholder, as a buffer, to manage your quota across subscription and distribute the quota the way you want. Once you consume all the quota, for example, you just increase the quota group, and then you can think about how to distribute them later on. So it is basically decoupling the quota, if you want, from the subscription, where before you had to go on a subscription level basis, and then you have to deal on a subscription by subscription. Now you can do it centrally. So how it works, right? How does it work? There are a couple of prerequisites. So the first prerequisite is that it is dependent on a management group. So you know that all the subscription that we have on Azure, they have a default management group of root, right? Which is the root management group. What you do is that it requires you to create a management group. Let's say you create a management group called Quota, or use an existing one, right? So if you have an existing one, you can basically reuse that. So once you do this, you basically create a quota group in Azure, which is again an object. So you go to the Azure portal or CLI, PowerShell, API. You create a quota group. You give it a name and that kind of stuff, right? And then this quota group will be living under this management group. And then once the quota group is created, or as part of the creation, you are going to link the subscriptions that you want this quota group to manage, right? So, and you can link as many subscriptions as you want. So for example, you can link subscription 1, subscription 2, etc., and then subscription X, right? And you can have multiple quota groups, right? So as part of your creation, you can have multiple quota groups. And then once you do this, voila, that's it. You basically manage the quota centrally. So just to remind you, let's say this quota has 100 cores of DSV5. It's just an example, DSV5. This one has another 100 cores of DSV5, right? And this subscription has 0 cores of DSV5, right? Now, previously, if you need DSV5 in this subscription, you'll have to go and enable that automatically. Maybe it will fail. It will ask you to open a support ticket, and then you maybe have to wait a little bit depending on what is the severity of the support ticket. Now, what you can do, you can simply return as part of an API call. If you want, it's a control plane call. You can return these 100 cores here into the quota group, right? So quota group now will have 200 cores of DSV5. Once you have 200 cores of DSV5, you can assign them into this subscription without opening any support ticket or interacting with Microsoft support. You have 200 cores here, and you can start consuming them. And at any time, you can go and take these 200 cores and distribute them into other subscription if you want. This basically brings, in my opinion, massive value because it helps you, manage your quota more appropriately, and it helps you plan, and it simply helps you move faster. I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and see you soon. Bye.